Hey there YouTube, it's Bobi aka Paginator, and I am here today to tell you about a book called Disappeared by Francisco S. Stork. If you read the thumbnail of this video, you will know that I am now a Scholastic Insider. How did this happen? Well, I'll tell you. Scholastic, who does, Scholastic Book Order, Scholastic Book Club, all these great things for teachers and students to get good books in their hands, decided that they were going to select 250 teachers and librarians from around the United States to be insiders. And so I filled out an application this summer and didn't really hear anything until about halfway through October or so, and I've been chosen. So basically, starting in October, I get one free exclusive book from them every month. I have to read it, tell my students about it, and provide some feedback for them. So this is my first book. It came to me quite late in October, so even though this is the beginning of November, this is the October book. And it is Disappeared by Francisco X. Stork. So I want to tell you a little bit about this book. Wow, so many things happen in this book. So we have alternating points of view in our chapters between Sara and Emiliano. Sara and Emiliano are brother and sister. Emiliano is still in high school. He's really good at soccer, and he's part of a group called the Jipari, which are kind of like Boy Scouts, but they focus more on wilderness survival in the desert. And they also have a code where they're not allowed to partake in drugs and alcohol, and they strive to be good community members. And Emiliano is also kind of an entrepreneur. He goes around, and some of the kids that he mentors through the Jipari create piñatas or purses or different things, and he goes around and sells them and takes a small commission. So he's working his butt off to try to earn some money, because he, his sister Sara, and his mom don't have a whole lot of income. His mom works at a bakery, and Sara is a reporter at a local newspaper. But life is pretty rough there in Juarez, even though things in the city are becoming safer. And when they were younger, tons and tons of girls were getting kidnapped and going missing, and they called them the desaparecidas. I think I said that right, meaning the missing ones. And one of the people who's gone missing is his sister's best friend, Linda. So yeah, let's talk about Linda for a minute. We get a little glimpse of her in the very first chapter. It's kind of like a prologue. And Sara, who is our other main character and narrator, she narrates every other chapter, tells us about when Linda went missing and how devastated she was, and she made a promise to her that she would continue to always search for her. So now she's a reporter at a newspaper, and we get the idea that she's still very young, like maybe 19, 20, 21, very, very young, and she has published an article every week about a different girl that's been missing. It just kind of baffles my mind that there's enough missing girls in Juarez to do an article every week in this newspaper, but there are, and probably a lot more than what she's reported on, because from the sound of things, it used to be really bad, like really, really bad there, and it wasn't ever boys that went missing, it was always girls. So you know that there's some shady crap going on. My hand needs a break. Alright, so when we first jump into this story, immediately we learn about Sara still writing the articles about these girls, and she gets a death threat. It says, if you publish anything of Linda Fuentes, which is her friend that went missing, you will be killed and your family. But then this threatening email mysteriously gets deleted, and the only thing that she can think is that someone that works at the newspaper is connected to these underground bad guys that stole her best friend. And so she doesn't know who she can trust, and the photographer guy that she's worked with forever drunkenly declares that he loves her at some party and then won't speak to her again. And things are a little bit confusing at that point, but I think that perhaps the author did that on purpose because Sara's all kinds of confused, and maybe we as readers need to be confused along with her. She doesn't know what's going on, or who to trust or who to not trust, and she's really concerned about her family, but she doesn't want to back down to give in to the people who are pressuring her to not publish about these missing girls, in particular her best friend. So then we go back to Emiliano and we meet Perla Ruby Esmeralda. Her name literally translates into Pearl, Ruby, Emerald. If the author was trying to give us a clue as to her wealth status, it's right there in her name. She definitely comes from a different world than Emiliano. His last name is Zapata, which is the same last name as like a folk hero in the Mexican culture, but it also sounds a lot like zapato, which means shoe. It's kind of ordinary. So these two young people clearly like each other, but they really come from different places, and Emiliano has to go to Perla Ruby's mother's birthday party. Well, he gets offered kind of a strange job opportunity by one of his friend's fathers. Says, if you just drive my car to get this service done on it and spend the day waiting, I'll pay you X amount of money. Well, oh, by the way, I also need you to go meet this man, and I'll pay you X amount of money to just go meet him. So immediately as a reader, our red flags are kind of starting to rise because we're like, what's going on here? Emiliano goes to meet this strange mystery man, and he says, well, I think I'm gonna buy these piñatas and other crafts that you're making, but I want them stuffed with my product, aka drugs. And as a reader, we're going, Emiliano, run, get out of there. But Emiliano, he knows that it's wrong. He says, I'll need to think about this, and he knows that it is absolutely 100% wrong, but he also is really tempted by the money because he can make a whole lot of money and help the kids that he's mentoring, help make them make money for their families too, which has got to be tempting to a teenager. I totally understand why he's tempted to get involved in this. Add to the fact that Perla Ruby Esmeralda's father kind of pulls him aside at this party and says, hey, my business friend so-and-so said he was really impressed with you, and I hope you take him up on his offer because my daughter needs to be provided for in the lifestyle that she's used to. Yeah, Emiliano's gonna go take that shady job with running drugs. We just kind of know that he's gonna say yes to that. But before that can even happen, some crap starts to go down, mostly involving Sara and her job, because her job is putting the whole family in danger. I think I'm going to stop there because the rest of it involves like spoilery bits. I do want to tell you about how I rated this book and the rating system that I'm using. And if you want a little bit more spoilery bits, I'll save that for the end. I will warn you. So if you've ever seen the channel of the lovely Gintara, or G, from Book Roast, she uses a rating system called Cawpile, and I've decided to adopt that for my own rating purposes, especially with these Scholastic books that I've been given for a review. So using her system, I gave this book 4 stars. I'll kind of walk you through how it works. So there are 7 elements that she came up with, and you give each of them a score out of 10, and you average that, and that converts to a star rating. So characters is the first one. I gave characters a 9. I feel like the characters are pretty well developed and they're interesting characters. I just kind of felt like I wanted a little bit more out of a couple of the secondary characters, and I want to know why the heck Perla Ruby just seems like this gushy teenager, but she doesn't seem to have a clue of what her father's up to. I don't think that she would not know. That's something felt kind of off about that to me. The atmosphere I gave a 10 because it was absolutely fantastic, really interesting atmosphere throughout the entire book, even though the plot took some serious shifts. The writing style I gave a 9. There were just a couple of things that I didn't love. It was in present tense, which is not my favorite thing, and just a couple of word choices here and there, but for the most part, it was pretty well done. Plot I gave a 7. And that's because there's a major shift on the focus of the story about 2/3 of the way through. I'll kind of get into that more in the spoilery information, but there was kind of a big shift and the whole purpose of the book seemed to like swing way off. Intrigue is the next one. I gave that a 10 out of 10 because I was completely intrigued with the whole thing in the entire way through, even though there was this big plot swing. Logic was 8 just because there were some things that didn't 100% connect with me. One was Perla Ruby not knowing too much about her father. Another one was like Sara randomly gets sent this cell phone, but it's through like one of the girls has been captured and sent it to her family, and their family sends it to this religious guy, and the religious guy has someone send it to Sara. It's all kinds of complicated, and I'm not even sure how it worked entirely, and I just finished the book. So there were just a couple of logical things that I didn't think were quite fully fleshed out. And then enjoyment, I gave an 8. Even though intrigue and enjoyment you think would go hand in hand, I was always really intrigued, but there were some chapters where I was like, okay, move forward. This is taking a little bit longer than necessary. So that's why my enjoyment went down just a couple of points. So that left me with a total of 61, and when you average that out, it's 8 5/7, and that converts to 4 stars on G's scale. If I remember to do so, and sometimes I'm bad at remembering this kind of thing, I will link her video where she explains compile in my description down below so you can learn more about this rating system. But overall, again, this ended up being a 4-star read in my book, and I am definitely going to recommend it to my students. I think that as an adult, I am a more critical reader than what a middle schooler might be, but there's nothing inappropriate in here as far as language, no sexual content. There is the threat of will Emiliano become a drug runner or not, but that's a real life situation that happens to people. So I don't think that it's inappropriate for middle schoolers to read about that. Just don't. Anyway, I'll be sharing with this with my students on Tuesday because we always do book talks on Tuesday. And I'll be sharing this information with my thoughts and opinions for Scholastic as well. So this has been really fun to get a book and to try to read with a critical eye, and also just really enjoy the book experience itself. Now, I did promise there would be a spoilery bit, so if you don't plan on reading this book and want to know some of the spoiler things, I'll tell you that now. If not, happy reading. See you later. Alright, so if you're still watching at this point, I assume you want to know some more spoilery bits. Oh, that hurt. I just moved my jaw a weird way and it just really hurt. How weird. Okay, random weird jaw movement aside. Some of the spoilery bits. Sara, she kind of gets found out because ding 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 ding, who's corrupt? It's her supervisor at the newspaper, Miss Juana, who swears that she's all up and on the good side of things, but oh no, she actually stole the cell phone that got sent to Sara, and Sara finds it in her boss's desk when she was looking for a taxi voucher. What the F? This is so not cool. So when Sara's boss, not only does she steal the cell phone, but when she discovers that Sara stole it back from her, she emails the freaking drug lords and kidnapper peoples and gives them Sara's address. So Sara hurries and grabs her brother, grabs her mom, and they run. Like, Emiliano has been given this scooter from one of his drug runner connections. He hasn't fully committed to the job yet, and he never really actually does during this book, but he's really considering it and pretty dang sure that he's going to do it. So his friend that's hooking him up here gives him the scooter. So the whole family jump in. Emiliano's driving the scooter, and Sara and her mom are in this little trailer that he hauls stuff around in, and they take off to some people that they know. They hide him out for a little while. Then the drug kidnapper guys go shoot up their house. So probably most of their stuff is destroyed. And so their mom says, you know what, you're going to go live with your dad in the United States. I've already called him. He's going to come pick you up across the border. And they're like, what the F? Because Sara's kind of okay with their dad, but Emiliano hates him because he left them and divorced their mom and has this new life now and blah, blah, blah. So all of a sudden it turns from this investigating disappearances of young women, which was really, really intriguing, to these two siblings having to get across the border into the United States, which was also really intriguing. Now, regardless of whether you come down on one side or the other of border control and those political issues, it is absolutely fantastically intriguing to get to know two characters and feel a connection with them and feel sympathy for their situation, empathy for their situation, and really root for them to make it, because we don't want them to be hunted down by the kidnapper guys or by Emiliano's drug connection people, or like bitten by a horrible snake while they're trying to cross the river or something. We just want them to succeed and be safe because we've built this connection with them, which is what good books do. Something interesting happens. Two of the bad guys locate them while they're crossing, and they are from the Emiliano drug connection. And one of them gets shot, and instead of running like heck away from the guy that gets shot, these two siblings take care of him. And Sara decides, you know what, I've got all my important data on a flash drive. I'm just going to run for help for this man that's injured. I'll ask for asylum because I'm being persecuted by these people and the government's in collusion, because apparently the police in Mexico are really corrupt, or some of them are. Anyway, and so Sara's running for help to save this man that tried to kill her and her brother. And Emiliano stays with the guy, tries to help him, but he ends up getting injured himself, an infection starting to spread in to his foot. And so when Sara returns with the help for the criminal guy, and she had found a park ranger, she is planning on going to ask for asylum with the help of this park ranger. And Emiliano's left to try to make his way to a place called Sanderson in Texas. And because of the infection that's setting in from his injury, he's hallucinating, he's passing out intermittently, and ends up being found by a local farmer and brought to his home, who is on the United States side of the line. And he's given the chance to either stay and work for this farmer, place a phone call to his father, who's been around town in Texas asking for people, or to go back to Mexico. And up until this point, we think Emiliano, no way, is ever going to go live with his father. But in the very end, he's looking up at the stars over Texas, and he goes, I wonder if Chicago has a place where you can see the stars too. So we get this idea that Emiliano's going to give his father a chance and try to find a new life. Yeah, so there we go. Now you know the story of Disappeared. And yeah, it was absolutely intriguing. I kind of was left wishing that it had stayed more with the missing girls, because I really, really am interested in learning more about that, and if it's still going on, and that kind of thing, because I just don't know all that much about Mexico and what life is like there. But even though there was a big plot shift to escaping to the United States for these two siblings, I still really was intrigued and wanted to find out what happened to these characters. So there we go. There are my thoughts on The Disappeared by Francisco S. Stork. I will definitely let you know about future books that I get from Scholastic if that's something you all are interested in. Just let me know. And lastly, just a little side note. I have been trying to be really good with spending as far as special edition boxes and holiday things with subscription box services and stuff. And so I decided that I'm going to let myself get two things. So I have pre-ordered a holiday box from Fandom of the Month. Or they might just go by Fandom now, or anyway, those folks. It's a Harry Potter themed box that is wooden, and I'm so excited for that. And then the other thing I'm going to be getting is from Once Upon a Book Club, which is an Advent kind of thing, or 12 Days of Christmas kind of thing. And my question for you is, when I get that one, would you like me to open everything at once in one giant unboxing, or do you want me to do like kind of a vlog of the 12 days opening each thing each day? I'll do whichever option gets the most comments or / votes in the comments below. So there we go. So thank you for joining me with this book review. I hope you all have a wonderful and bookish day. Happy reading. Adios.